Today we're going to be discussing the Sapphire pump drug library. We'll go over how to load your medications, create a clinical care area, and compile everything into your drug library to publish that and load onto your pump. So you will be sent a link and passcodes via your email, and you will just save that link to your computer. You will open up and you will be looking at the screen you see here after you log in. All right, the first thing you'll do is you want to set up your medication list, and just for the sake of time here, we're just going to set up one medication. We'll set up amiodarone. We can place cortisone in there as the brand name as well. They will both show on the screen. The external ID is a requirement. It's not really specific to anything, but you do have to have a number in there. So for the sake of this exercise, we'll just place a 1. And on the bottom, you do not have to add the concentration here, but you can if you wish. So we'll go ahead and place 100 milligrams and then 100 milliliter in our diluent down below. Just click add. So you would just go through all of your medications, just build them in this list initially. You can also import into this list from Excel, as well as export them if you need to have a copy at a later time. So we've got our medication list built, and we will now go into setting up our clinical care areas. We must name the drug library. And as far as this screen here, you will notice we have one published library already in this system. And you will see that we're working on a worksheet. So once you publish the library, you can still make a copy from this screen, but you can only modify a worksheet. You cannot modify a drug library once it's published. So you can just easily make a copy from this screen. So we'll start by naming our clinical care areas. You can have up to 40. It's for EMS purposes. We see a lot of folks just naming an adult, pediatric, maybe a neonatal, not to get it too complicated. You must select a service line. And then once your clinical care area is named, just return to the previous screen, and we will go up to the top where it says CCA Setup. And you will click on the library that you wish to modify. So when you get into the CCA settings, this will be the most time-consuming part of setting up your drug library. You can modify these pumps in numerous different ways. And we'll pretty much just run down the tabs here. And what we'll be going over is just how we see a lot of folks in the EMS world setting up their pumps. You can set them up any way you want to. This is just a lot of things that we see from customer to customer. We'll just start at the top. The new patient for EMS, we leave that off. The next one will be calculate concentration. We normally see that turned on just so that you can calculate drugs on the fly outside of the drug library. We'll go all the way down to the format. Most all these others we see are off in the EMS world. Format, we'll do the US format. And the screensaver, most folks do like to see that on. It's just another feature that while you're infusing, you can see on the screen. And it does save some battery life. The backlight is usually turned on. And then your audio on the top right. It does have a pretty high key volume, so some people turn that down to low, but that's just however you desire on that. And as well as the alarm volume, you can turn it to maximum or minimum. And down at the bottom, your air and line detector. It's usually set to off on the top. It is a default to 0.5 mLs accumulated air. and then it will alarm when it reaches 1 milliliter of air accumulation. Prime volume is usually set to around 20. Most folks in the EMS world like to prime this via gravity, so that function is not used a whole lot in EMS. And then we will just go up to the alarm settings next. And on the alarm settings, the occlusion pressure, we usually see that around 12, especially for peds. And we will change from a bar. Most folks usually are on PSI. And that's where we put the 12. The pump unattended, usually probably 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. 10 minutes is quite a long time if you're in the back of a rig. And then you can set your infusion near end there, just however you desire. Next, you'll enter the mode options. You can allow a bolus. The bolus can be configured inside the medication specific. Next, we'll go to KVO settings. Really nothing to program in this screen as far as EMS. Next, we will see hard limits. And again, the limits can be programmed in the drug specifically as far as setting your limits. So don't really see anything in the EMS world set in this screen. Your delivery mode will be set to continuous. This is a multi-therapy pump, so there are many different options on this screen, but you will just select continuous and then turn all the other modes off. And in the dosing units, as you will see, there are many different types of units. You can leave all of these on, or you can modify just so it's not so busy. Like on the million units, we see that turned off most all the time. Unless you're giving a penicillin infusion, you're not really going to need million units. But this is, you know, agency specific, so you can modify this any way you see fit. And we will just save that. And next is security. These are your passcodes the way it comes from the factory. You can leave them like this, or you can go in and do a custom passcode. That's your different levels of security. On the passcode, folks in EMS usually set the high level. They will give that out to the crews, which allows them to program outside of the drug library. It just gives them that authority inside the pump. The drugs are set up a clinical care area. You can have up to 40 clinical care areas in this pump, and each one containing 1,000 drugs. We're now ready to set up our medications inside our clinical care area. So we will select the clinical care area of adult that we made, and we will click add. And then there's a drop-down box on the top. And there's our amiodarone that we created earlier in our medication list. So we will put in amiodarone here. We can put in the second name there of cortisone if you wish. Don't have to. And then over on the right, we will select our delivery mode of continuous. And here's where you will start building your concentration. You can click no concentration in this screen. And that way it would allow you to just build a custom concentration each time. Or we can select, we'll put 150 milligrams into 100 mLs. And then you will select a dose rate, which is milliliters an hour. You can select several different ones here. Here's where you set your upper hard limit, lower hard limit, and then your upper and lower soft limits on the pump. And these are customizable. You can set them however your medical director wants them set. The soft limits are the recommendations, and the hard limits cannot be changed. They're in concrete. So you cannot infuse below or over a hard limit. So from the screen, you can also add multiple different concentrations of the same medication. If you see, different concentrations at a facility you might transport from, you would just go in and select that same medication in the drop down, and then you will just build it just like you did the initial. Another neat thing about this pump, you can add what we call a wild card. If you know that you're going to be having an amiodarone drip, but you really don't know the concentration, or if you're buying different things from your vendor and it's always coming differently, you just select amiodarone at the top, and when it comes down to the medication amount or the diluent amount, you have to have something in one of these. So we can just say, okay, we know we're going to have 150 milligrams, but we don't have to select an amount, a volume. So you will now see that we've got 150 milligram in blank mLs, and that can be just modified on the fly. You can also add an infusion with no concentration, just if you want to give a sodium chloride maintenance infusion. Just select the sodium chloride that we have from our medication list and hit continuous. You'll see that when you hit the no concentration, when you check that box, it takes away that center area. And then when you hit OK there, you will see that it has nothing built there. So that is totally customizable on the pump from the field. If you want to program that, your medics can program this in the field. So now we'll discuss how to publish your library. Once you've got everything loaded into it and you're ready to get it on your pump, like we had discussed earlier, you can have only one published library, so we're actually going to delete the one that we had, and we will add the one that we've been working on together for this exercise. So we will select that and edit, and if you will see in the upper left hand corner of the screen, the word finalize is there, and it tells you that if you press OK, it will set this worksheet to a published library, and we will hit OK, and you will now notice that what we've been working on together is published. So that is actually what we will place into the pump when we're ready to load. All right, so once you have your drug library complete and finalized, we're going to log out of our editor account, and we will log into our loader account to load this onto the pump. Once you log in to the loader account, you will see this screen, and we've got our pump plugged in to our COM cable. So once we click Add the Device, we will select our COM port. You do have to double click on that area to select that port. And we will simply click Download, and this will place your published library onto your pump. Remember, you can only have one published library, and this will download this to your pump. Once this is complete, your pump will be ready to go. All right, so now we should have everything into our pump. You should be good to go.